Hello! It's been a while. I apologize. I've been focusing more on becoming a good DM by, actually having maps and being prepared for my games, or at least trying to. Recent times have been a little rough, but, whatever. That's not the point. That's not the point. Everything is fine. I'm doing better now. I'm getting into it. I've also been working more on trying to do good by my Discord that I have and doing well by my Twitter. I'm trying to get more into social media if I'm going to be successful at this. Anyway, if you don't know who I am the Bad Luck Gamer, or Bad Luck Gamer here on YouTube. I'm the Bad Luck Gamer over on Twitch if you want to see some of my games. I stream Monday through Wednesday, 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, typically. Unless someone calls out, then I do like a 2-hour stream of Table Talk, where we just chat with chat and talk about tabletop. But anyway, the point of this video, a minute in, and I apologize for that, is the dichotomy between role-playing and the mechanics of the game. Now, I think everyone should understand that when you play a role-playing game, you're playing a structured narrative. You're playing a game that has narrative elements to tell a story that has mechanical aspects. They're intertwined. You cannot have one without the other. If you have just game, you're playing a war game. You're playing a turn-based strategy game. If you're just telling a story, then you're just role-playing. They're not two different things in this aspect. They're one whole piece. But I've noticed that a lot of people are kind of starting to struggle with certain aspects. And I want to kind of talk about this. I want to talk about it because it's an interesting growing pain that comes with the community that has now expanded to who knows how many, multiples. Like, from the start of Critical Role and, the renaissance of tabletop to now, the number of people who play tabletop games has skyrocketed so exponentially that it's insane to think about. Back when I first started playing, it was me and my nerdy LARP friends who played tabletop. It wasn't cool. We got made fun of because of it. And that's, kind of the thing about it is it's now cool. It's now something that people are actually being praised for doing, and the social creatures that we are, now it's okay, and now we're all doing it. And I hope it doesn't come to the fall of zombie games, where zombie games got super huge and then just completely fell off because it got played out. I don't think that's going to be the case, because tabletop is unique when it comes to the style of experience it provides. But anyway, there's now a division starting between people who love the mechanics and rules of the system and those who are coming in for the escapism and the ability to get out of their skin and just have a good role-playing experience. And I'm here to tell everyone right now, from the old hats to the new, there does not have to be any division. Everyone plays the game their own way anyway. There has never been in the history of tabletop two groups who played exactly the same, who have exactly the same homebrew. It's just, there's no, because it's all based on preferences. It's all based on what you want to do, how you want to play. So if someone else is not using the rules you like, it's okay. You don't have to play that way. That's the great thing about the game. In fact, a lot of the books nowadays say you can play how you want, which is ridiculous for a game about using your imagination. But yeah, you can play however you want to play. But there's certain aspects of it that people are struggling with because they don't have the mentality for it. But I can tell you, with enough mastery of your game system, you can conquer any roadblock you come across because you can change exactly how you play the game. Another thing I've noticed is, since Pathfinder 2e is starting to really kick up and people from Dungeons & Dragons 5e are coming over, they're running into a system that's chunkier and not as smooth as 5e, because 5e is very narratively driven. The rules are so simple that you can just run a game without even having to look in the book most of the time. And that's great. And that's really good. I like 5e. I played 5e quite a bit before Pathfinder 2e. And there's good aspects to that. But I went to Pathfinder 2e because I like a little bit of a denser system. But the people who are coming over, who are getting gummed up by the rules, because they're like, oh, there's a rule for that, there's a rule for this, or whatever. The thing is they don't fully understand the rules to avoid those obstacles. One complaint recently that I've noticed is doing actions in game, role playing them out, rule cool, and doing something that mimics a feat in the game. And so the DM is left with the question, do I let them pretty much use a feat for free without having to take it? Or do I prevent them from doing so because there's a feat for that and I don't want to deprive players who do invest in that feat from, or at least make their choice non-important. And the thing is that this is not a problem. This is only a problem if you don't understand the system. You can make any number of adjustments to make this work. Now, is the thing that they're doing to rule cool this something they're doing over and over and over? If the answer is yes, they're exploiting roleplay to essentially get a feat. That's not okay. If it's really matching in the moment, let them use it. Or, if it's something that comes up somewhat frequently, put a penalty on it. Make it harder for them to do this untrained action that they don't have any specific training in. Reward the players who do have this as a trained action to, do it more easily. Like, it's that easy. All you have to do is just slap on a circumstance penalty to the situation. And yeah, you might make this rule cool action fail because of that. But you're only doing this if they're doing it repeatedly. If it's a once-off thing, don't worry about it. Just let them use the feat. And that's another thing as well. Feats are not static. Your game does not need to have standard character progression the whole way through. I've had plenty of games that I've given feats or abilities to players that they didn't invest in on a level up. And that's okay. And if you're worried about game balance, you're the DM. You can increase the monster's numbers to match. The only thing you have to do as a DM is if a player gets really strong, you bump up the rest of the party too. Share the love. Make sure everyone is getting some really cool stuff. You have the power to do that. You shouldn't be favoring a player anyway. And if you find a situation where you have one player who's too strong because he gave him something too strong, give everyone else something too strong too, and then make all the monsters harder. That's it. That's all you got to do. You just got to adjust the numbers. And that's all it is just numbers. And if you're worried about the roleplay experience, then adjust the numbers willy-nilly. Sometimes players smashing a scenario is a good thing because it, validates how they've played up until this point and it makes them feel strong. And that's a whole part of the escapism. The rules don't have to get in your way because you can change them. The book tells you can change them. And if you're someone who's a big stickler for the rules and you don't like how someone else is playing their game, understand that how they play the game does not change how you play your game. And just be okay with it. You can say, I wouldn't do that personally. Yeah, totally. I do that all the time. I watch Critical Role and I say that about some of the scenarios that happen in Critical Role. I wouldn't do it that way. I would handle it in a different way. And it's not because I hate what they do on Critical Role. I love Critical Role. I just have a different preference in how I like to run my games. And I want to provide a slightly different experience. Not only that, but my players play differently than the members of Critical Role do. So I have to play the game differently to suit my players' needs. So this whole dichotomy of being super rules heavy versus being super role play intensive, you don't have to cheat either side. You don't have to feel bad about the player who takes the feat or whatever when you provide either an obstacle or you just adhere to the rule of cool in the sense that it's only used when something really cool would happen. A one-off situation happens, you know. Sometimes, like in a fight, a terrible fighter gets a good blow off and knocks someone out. That's a real thing, and that can happen in tabletop. It should happen in tabletop. And on the other side of things, for the people who see the backgrounds and they're like, well, I don't like this background, but I like what it gives me. Take it. Take the background and then just don't apply the flavor text to your character. Nothing forces you to do so. And if you want to make your own feat that has the little bits that you want to pick out for it, well, first ask your DM if it's okay, because it's power gamey to, pick all the best stuff out to optimize your character to the max. But if you're playing in a power gamer game, go for it, But the thing is that like the backgrounds in Pathfinder have a pretty good structure, and you can just infer like essentially what would be a decent enough background. And if you want to give a stronger background, go ahead. Just make sure all the other players are doing the same. And if you have a mixed group, you need to pay attention to the needs of each individual player and make sure they're being fulfilled. There are some groups that have super combat players and super RP players, and they all want to play together. That's fine. You have to create different scenarios for both of those so that they both can get their time in the sun. And if there's times where one player's not having fun, try to minimize it, give them something else. Create battle scenarios that have possible roleplay aspects or non-combat based actions when you have someone who's just not as into the combat. And conversely, make your roleplay or social scenarios have some actions or even combat things your players can do to, make it better. You can impress a room by flipping a ring in the air and pinning it to the wall with an arrow. It's a combat action, essentially. A strike action, aim strike action, you put a difficulty modifier on it. That player just used their attack roll to essentially make an impression. There you go. You can mix it up. It is all very intensive on the DM, and I understand this. Unfortunately, the DM is the one who runs the game. The players can help with this. If you're an experienced player and you have a newer DM, you can offer like, hey, you can do this, you can do that. Just respect their authority as the DM and don't coach them needlessly. I have a big problem with coaching people because I've been DMing for like 20 years. I'm trying to hold back on that, and I've honestly been doing okay at that recently, and honestly, the games have been fun. So, if you feel like a game system is too number crunchy, or God forbid, there's a particular meta build that if you're not picking, you are playing inoptimally, ignore that, because combat's one pillar of the 3 pillars of tabletop. There's roleplay, combat, exploration. Those are the 3 pillars. Combat is one pillar. And the roleplay aspect kind of takes 2 pillars, because exploration can have some fun roleplay bits in it. So, everyone likes to focus on the numbers, but your numbers don't have to be optimal. In fact, the game is not even designed, unless your DM is doing this to you, for your players needing to be optimized to win scenarios. If your group is not super combat-y, your DM should make it so that they don't have to be optimized for combat to win a scenario. That's it. So, understand your game to make your roleplay better. Read the rules. Understand how the game works. Because I guarantee if you feel like the rules are getting in the way of your roleplay, it's because you don't understand the rules enough to make it work for your roleplay. Plain and simple. And if you feel like there's too much narrative flair and it's getting in the way of this fun action strategy game that you have going for you, understand that it's a social contract. You're playing a role-playing game with other people. If you're playing with a whole group of super, power gaming individuals who just want to have difficult dungeon runs, then it shouldn't get in your way in the first place. You're not forced to roleplay in the game. And if you have a social situation, roll your, diplomacy. That's what it's there for. You don't have to actually convince someone with your words. You just need to roll a good diplomacy. Conversely, don't make someone, roll a diplomacy when they make a really good point in character. It's as simple as that. I have more videos like this coming out, and I'm sorry this one ran a little bit long, and I know it was a little bit ranty, but the point is, tabletop is not roleplay separated from combat. It's not combat separated from roleplay. They're one and the same. The mechanics and the rules assist your roleplay, so make it help you. Don't fight it. Don't fight the system. Understand it and make it work for you. And don't let the roleplay, the flavor text in the game prevent you from doing something mechanically that works anyway. You don't have to justify logically what's happening if the rules tell you can do something. Plain and simple. Also, listen to your DM. Also, buy your DM pizza or something because they put in a lot of work to make the game work for you. I'll tell you. I'll have a video later about DMing and, how to adjust your game to fit your players later. But I just wanted to get this video out there off my chest. I could talk about this for literally hours. And I might. I have a Twitch that I mentioned at the beginning of this video. Over on twitchtv.com. You can look for it, The Bad Luck Gamer. And we do our games Monday through Wednesday, 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We play Animal Beyond Fantasy in Pathfinder 2nd Edition. I also upload my anima videos and my one of my games to YouTube, so you can actually check it out here. I have a list, or I have a list for each of the different campaigns. Playlist, that's what it is. Sorry, I'm coming down from the high of talking about Table Talk now, and I'm just getting confused. It's all good. But yeah, but one of those games you can't catch up on because it's not on YouTube. And so come over to the Twitch channel and check it out. Also, if you're interested in possibly playing with me and some of my players in the future, check me out at the Discord. I have a link down below. I always recruit in my Discord first for any games I plan on streaming. And it's also a place to get together to talk about tabletop because that's what we're all there about. So, with that, I'm The Bad Luck Gamer. Good luck on your games. I hope you all have a wonderful